The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
this is What Are You Afraid of?
Yes, it is.
We're back.
We are back, and it's a new year.
It is. It's 2020.
Can you believe it? It's a new decade.
Well, from where I'm living, it could be 1920.
Right, because you moved.
Yes. This is the first show we've ever done remotely.
Yes, this is the first one.
And it's remotely going well.
It's going remotely well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, except for the part where the speaker was coming out of your microphone, that was a little bit weird.
Yeah, that was weird. It was coming out, but yeah, I think we got it going now though. So
yeah, maybe the ghosts from Cape May haunted the microphone.
Hey, our microphones are still haunted.
Yeah, which is kind of a cool thing. Yeah,
it is. It was weird. It was weird how that happened. I mean, just both of our microphones cut off at the same time.
It did, and I mean, they had two different batteries going on. They're two different devices completely. They run differently. It's just, and you look at it on the microphone, they both died at the same time, and we lost like 15 minutes of that show.
I know. We kept talking. Uh-huh. we didn't know. We didn't know they were off.
And something just told me, every couple of minutes, check the recording file and look at the levels. And I'm looking at, our dialogue, trying to keep talking to hide the fact that I'm suddenly perplexed by the fact that our audio has gone completely dead. And I think to myself, did our mics die? So we had to stop. And when they'd both died at exactly the same time, which was the ghost story we did on our last episode, the Yuletide episode.
Right. Yes. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And that was and you moved you moved like 3 weeks ago?
A couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we came up on January. We got the place on January 6th. Brought a moving truck up, got everything up here, and then the next week I came up on Wednesday night. Allison still had a few days to finish, and I just started unpacking like crazy, and she joined me that Friday. And you know what we did 3 days later? We got a Christmas tree.
Oh, see, that's perfect because it's like home,
Yeah, that's what we wanted.
It makes it home.
That's exactly what we wanted.
Do you still have your decorations up?
No.
No. Okay, so you took them down.
Yes.
Because I wanted to. I've been debating, with people like, how long is too long to leave them up? Because I still have all mine up. I didn't take anything down yet.
Well, my cousin celebrated Russian Christmas, and she would leave her tree and decorations up until February.
Yeah, and I do that too sometimes.
Right. But I think this year we just wanted to get the place cleaned up, and the pine needles were getting everywhere. So,
Right. Exactly. So that's good. So you got a real tree.
At Home Depot and picked one up, and it was a pretty good price. And it was a lot of people were getting dead trees because the lantern moths, they would take them in, set them up, find them covered with goo, and they'd be dead.
Oh, God. Jeez. Yeah. That's not good.
Right. Yeah. So we lucked out.
I have my Charlie Brown tree. It's like one, it's basically like that. It's about 2.5 feet, maybe something like that. It's nothing crazy. It sits on the counter,
Right.
But I like it. It's easy to put up. It's easy to take down. And
Yeah.
I've been reluctant to take anything down so far because I just like looking at it, at this point because I mean, once I take everything down, it's going to look so bare and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do get that. We have a huge apartment and the whole left wall is basically empty at this point without the tree, and we're trying to find things at the Salvation Army to put up for it.
Okay, oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But letting our audience know, as Phil has done, Allison and I have made the trip to Lancaster.
Yes.
We are here. She has started a new job at a local accounting company. It's going very well. She's very busy. She's enjoying it. But as I've been here, I've been naturally sucking up a lot of the local paranormal environment. And it's a strong one, especially being so close to Gettysburg. And I found out something interesting today. The fact that I am living on top of a native burial ground of massacred Conestoga Indians.
Wow. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's I mean, so how did you find this out exactly?
Okay, well, I started doing research for tonight's show, which is called, to let everyone know, episode 134. I moved the top of a native burial ground in Lancaster of massacred Conestoga Indians. And I found this out because I started doing research on local Lancaster ghost stories, to get a little meat for episode 134 tonight's show. And
right.
The first thing that pops up is a ghost story about the Duke Street garage. I live pretty much in the center of downtown historic Lancaster. When people find out what our address is, they think we're rich.
I bet. Yeah.
Because we're surrounded by townhouses here, but we have this wonderful little apartment that's above this garage where the local townhouse people keep their maintenance stuff. And so we have this little flat, but everywhere else is townhouses. So it's in downtown Lancaster. It's right among the shops. I'm a block from the Marriott and the Starbucks and all the stores and everything. It's like living in Rittenhouse Square.
That's really cool.
That's
really, really cool. I mean, you were telling me how great it is, and just like all the coffee shops and just the culture, and it sounds like a really cool cultural district.
It is
to me.
Christmas was amazing here. It really was beautiful. Sure. And we got out and listened to a local band play Christmas music and went and had a beer by the fire at the local Irish pub and checked out the shops. And you have the Lancaster market here. It's amazing. I have so much mobility and freedom. So I decided to do a little research on the ghost stories, figuring, I'll be collecting local ghost stories for a long time. Right. And I discovered a story about a local massacre that happened in the 1700s. And I'm looking at the addresses. It said it haunts the Duke Street garage, which is right by my house. I can see it looking out the window right now.
Wow.
And then I read the location where they buried, the dead from this massacre. And it said off of Cherry Street, right by Chestnut. In that little section there used to be, they buried them there, just left them. And then I realized that's where my apartment is.
That's insane. Mm-hmm. And when you first told me this, it reminded me of like Poltergeist, when, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Move the tombstones, but they left the bodies. You
left the bodies. You moved
You moved the bodies, didn't you?
Yeah, but
you only moved the headstones. You only moved the headstones.
And it was Craig T. Nelson and the guy from Return of the Living Dead who played his business partner.
It was, and it was Questa Verde, yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, does Allison know this yet? Did you tell her?
I don't communicate with Allison much during the day because she's so busy at work and she's still being trained and she doesn't want to get on her cell phone and text me, so she has no idea. The only thing she knows from today is that McAfee tried charging me an extreme price for virus protection on an old email, and I called them up and fought with them and got them to take it down to $30. That's all she knows. So she knows nothing about the dead Native American bodies underneath the floor.
Wow. Well, that will be definitely some pleasant dinner conversation tonight, I must say.
Well, when I was moving, I nearly asked, whoever the landlords were, is this place haunted? Not, and they probably would think that it would turn us away. I'm like, no, I just don't want to leave the house and not be able to get ghost stories.
Yeah.
Haunted, I tack on $50 to the rent and I'm good.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I guess they did.
Right. Oh my goodness! Wow. That's going to be interesting. Telling her that though, she might not take to that too well though. You never. I mean, who knows though?
She's always had a very interesting relationship with the supernatural with my wife. She's, like I said, if a ghost came up and bothered her, she'd ask it to come back in the morning.
She would, yeah. Yeah. That's why I said, she might not take to it, but she seems like the kind of person that it wouldn't bother her too much.
Right. But this is T. Fox Dunham.
Yeah, Mrs. Phil Thomas.
We're back on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Para X Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. And check out our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com for all of our episodes, all of our ghost stories. You can find a great ghost story archive, plus links to all of our people, and the whole 5 years of the show. So we're going to pause now, and we're going to play a ghost story that was sent in by author Nancy Kilpatrick. I've gotten to know Nancy a little bit, and she's a lovely lady and a great author. And it was sent in through wonderful P.D. Casack. Trish Casack got it in for us.
Nice.
And this is called Raggedy Ann by author Nancy Kilpatrick on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
This is Joe R. Lansdale, creator of the Hap and Leonard series, and you're listening to me and others on Fox and Phil.
What are you afraid of?
Raggedy Ann by Nancy Kilpatrick. First published in Dancing with the Dark, True Encounters with the Paranormal by Masters of the Macabre, edited by Stephen Jones, 1997. Read by David Walton. My second husband's mother and I did not have a close relationship. She was a sweet but timid and private woman, fearful of her own shadow, very quiet and incapable of expressing an opinion. I didn't get to really know her over the 10 years that she was my mother-in-law, but then nobody else seemed to get close to her either. Still, I liked her sweetness. She seemed to have a good heart, and I had the feeling that she was thrilled to have a writer in the family. From what I'd been told of her background, I realised that we had several things in common. We had both been excruciatingly shy little girls, had both come from very poor households, and our primary female caregivers had died before we were 8 years old. This made us simpatico, if not in an overt manner, then in a kind of subterranean way. We had a sort of unconscious psychic connection, yet on the surface I couldn't have told you whether she preferred coffee or tea. When my mother-in-law was diagnosed with colon cancer, she underwent surgery, then chemotherapy, but the cancer metatasized to her liver. My then husband went to be with his mother for several weeks. During the death watch, I received daily phone calls updating me on her condition. For several days before the following incident, his mother appeared to be improving. She was coherent, eating a bit, and could walk around a little each day. Everyone was encouraged. I had in my office at that time a collection of about 2,000 books in bookcases that surrounded my desk on 3 sides. The bookcases were very tall, the tops almost touching the high ceiling. Along the tops I had put about a dozen things I wanted around me, but I didn't need to be handy, like the Arthur Ellis Award of the Hanged Man I'd won. a ceramic Bela Lugosi as Dracula, a winged horse, and on the case directly behind me, a Raggedy Ann doll that a friend had given to me many years ago. I could not reach the top of the bookcases, even with the two-step ladder, and rarely cleaned up there. In fact, I know it had been several years since the last time I'd borrowed a real ladder and climbed to the vaults, as I like to call them, and disturbed any of the items along the tops of the bookcases. So, poor Raggedy Ann had perched up there, collecting dust, and viewing my writing efforts for quite some time without me paying much attention to her. I like to work at night, and one evening I sat at my computer writing a ghost story. Since I like the night, I don't often get creepy feelings after dark. This time, however, I did. All evening I felt a presence in the room with me, directly behind me. This caused me to turn around frequently as I continued writing. As midnight approached, the feeling of not being alone intensified. I felt I was being watched. I wrote it off to the fact that I had been alone for a couple of weeks, and that I was working on a ghost story. But my logical mind wasn't having it, and the part of me that connects to the fantastical had cranked into high gear. I had just glanced at the computer clock. It was 12:14 a.m. Suddenly, I heard a loud crash behind me. I nearly hit that high ceiling myself. Heart pounding, I turned. Raggedy Ann had toppled from her lofty post onto a table below, breaking shelves and glass objects, and had landed in such a way that she was on her head. The next morning my husband phoned to report that the in-house nurse had awakened him around midnight. His mother had gone into a coma, from which she never recovered. She died 2 days later. You wouldn't know the time she went into the coma, would you? I asked, as an eerie feeling rippled along my spine. He checked with the nurse, who told him, 12:14, I checked my watch so I could record it on the chart. By the way, did I mention that my mother-in-law's name was Anne? Nancy Kilpatrick is a Canadian author who has written stories in the genres of dark fantasy, horror, mystery, erotic horror, and gothic subculture. She is most known for her vampire-themed works.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What Are You Afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction.
We are ready to scare you.
Para X.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Michelle.
And this is Dustin from the Dead Zone.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para X.
Hi, I'm David Walton, and I drop whatever I'm doing to read whatever Fox and Phil demand of me. My digital, as opposed to ectoplasmic alter ego, is called Brendan Shawland, who regularly plays guitar and sings in a virtual world. Brendan has a website, David doesn't. Bandcamp sales figures would suggest that Brendan's music is decidedly niche. If you want to be in the vanguard of support as Brendan heads towards global domination, just put Brendan Shawland in your favourite search engine, and you'll find his website very close to the top. You'll see what the human looks like, and you can check out the Listen to a Song page to access Brendan's unwillingly private world of creative output.
We are back on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Para X Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. And this is beloved episode 134. I moved on top of a native burial ground in Lancaster.
You sure did.
I sure did.
You sure did.
You know, and it's okay because now I've got a story to tell. You know, it's more than just playing the part. I've actually living in I've been living in apartments and newer condos most of my life. I'm finally in a really old building, and you know what? I've already seen my first ghost.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if has anything happened since you've been there, any kind of paranormal activity.
I wasn't looking for it. I really wasn't. I looked around. I really didn't think it was going to happen here. A lot of people expect old buildings to be haunted, but I just figured we were going to go about our business and not worry about it. And, you know, if something happened, that'd be cool, but you don't go looking for it. And I've been so preoccupied just trying to move in and get this place set up and set up my kitchen. The place has needed a lot of work. It's huge, by the way. I mean, I couldn't believe how big this place is. We've got a huge living room, a tiny kitchen, an office on the side that's fitting all my bookshelves, and 2 bathrooms here. The kitchen's small, but we've actually extended it along the wall with some tables and things. Plus, we have this huge office that could fit a couple tables in there, desks, and we have access to our own laundry facilities. Mind you, they're shared by a couple of other apartments, but only like 2 or 3, so they're usually open. But they're in the basement of the main building where the offices are of the owners who own the apartment. So when I do laundry, I carry my laundry across the parking lot and to the laundry facilities, you know, down the stairs, and it's down the stairs in the basement of the main buildings, and it's very creepy, it's very old, you can see the dirt coming in the natural walls, and so I'm down there, I load laundry into the laundry machine, I'm alone, it's very quiet, and there's a second staircase that goes up to some of the other apartments that people come down and do the laundry, and sometimes you see them. So I've got my back turned, and from the corner of my eye, I see someone coming down the staircase, and I hear them walking. And I go to turn around to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I just have the one load in, and then I'll open it up for you." And I always come back 40 minutes later, so you don't have to wait. And I start talking to them, and no one's there.
Wow, that's whoa. And you weren't freaked out, Dad?
I was a little perturbed, but you know what? When you initially see these things, you don't really go, "Oh, I saw a ghost." You go, "What the hell was that?" When I was like, "What?"
Your first thought isn't, was that a ghost? Your first, instinct is like, well, what was that?
Yeah.
And your mind wants to process it as being something, scientific or rational, but sometimes there's no explanation.
I just figured that didn't really see what I saw, but as I'm walking back with a load of dried clothes, I'm arguing with myself going, "No, that wasn't a reflection. That wasn't a speck of dust in my eye. I saw and heard someone coming down those stairs. I saw a shoulder. I saw hair. It was definitely a girl. I definitely saw a figure and heard it coming down those stairs, and I was all ready and all anxious." So, I'm pretty sure I may have seen my first ghost in Lancaster.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I know, and I figured I'm going to save it for the show.
Yeah, that's a huge, especially when you're doing a paranormal show, that's something that's great to share.
A lot of the buildings we looked at, a lot of the apartments initially were quite run down and quite old. And so that was I'm so glad we found this place. We love it here. And this place goes back hundreds of years. And
right.
I was telling you about the massacre.
Yeah, right.
Okay, it happened in 1763, right here. There was a group of local Native Americans from the Susquehannock Indians. They were a tribe called the Conestoga. In fact, our local river is called the Conestoga River.
Right.
And they were living out in cabins. They weren't even living on reservations. They were just living like everyday people at the time in cabins in the land around Lancaster City. And that was a group of local ruffians of Scottish-Irish descent, and they lived in the Susquehanna Valley. And they decided they were going to take out this poor Native American group. They said it was because they helped the English in the French and Indian War, helped the French, and they were on the wrong side of the French and Indian War or whatever, but really they just wanted their land. So they go out to their houses, they attack their houses, they salt their land, and they burn down their cabin.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Jeez.
the city of Lancaster knew this had happened, and they gave the survivors of the tribe shelter here. Now, there's some people say it was in the prison. Some people say it was in one of the workhouses. They were giving them shelter, whatever. But these Paxton boys found out they were there. They rode into the city, found them, attacked them, tortured them statistically, and murdered them. Women, men, and children all.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's just, yeah. That's, it's crazy when you think about what they used to do back then.
Yeah, just...
I mean, stuff like that usually, well, I mean, I guess stuff like that can happen today, but it doesn't usually happen like that.
But we have more law and order now, but back then it was just such a rough time, and, So they buried them outside of where they were killed in the ground. There was a lot of local open ground, and it was right here on Cherry Street. Right. Because a lot of ghost sightings have happened over the years in the general area, and they pinpointed right here where the burial ground was.
Okay.
Which I'm living on top of.
Wow. which that's where you're at. It's funny, of all the places you picked to move to in Lancaster, it's that you're over a burial ground.
Yeah, where a massacre was.
Where a massacre happened.
So this is the kind of thing where if I make an accidental spell or something, I invoke something terrible. So I'm being really careful. It's like living over a spiritual toxic waste dump, really. And I just, what I should do is go and lay remembrance and blessings on the ground to the spirits who still exist here is what I should do, and make my peace with them. And here's the terrible thing is they say that the natives had converted to Christianity. This came down through survivors of the tribe. And they were actually in a local church worshiping when the Paxton boys came upon them and massacred them, and they died saying the Lord's Prayer.
Now, this girl you saw, do you think it was someone from back then or more recent? Or
I never got a look at the clothing.
But because I was going to say, like, you could probably tell. It might not have been from that. It could have been 1800s or something,
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been someone from the 1920s. We don't know. I never really saw the clothing. I just saw this figure coming down the stairs. It looked like she was dressed like a lady, and heard the steps and turned, and there was nothing there.
Wow.
So,
I'm still waiting to see my first ghost. Actually, see it. I've had experiences that I've explained before, but I never actually saw one, like actually full manifestation. Never actually seen that. It's rare. It's super rare. So if that's what you saw, then you hit the jackpot.
So the Duke Street parking lot, the reason I was looking this up was, like I said, we live right in the center of town. And I mean, think of it like Center City, Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia. That's pretty much where we are. Lancaster is actually quite big and modern, but the Duke Street parking lot is right there. It's one of the main municipal parking lots. And there have been legends of them seeing people driving or people working there, seeing shadowy figures darting across the parking lot in front of the light. Like there are shadow people that haunt that place at night or early in the morning, and security guards have seen these things, and so have people getting into their cars late at night. And obviously you see that and you're freaked out. You think someone's going to attack you or mug you or take your car or something, and they wait and they watch, and they see shadow figures running across the light with no one to make the shadows.
Wow. That's creepy. Wow.
Now the bodies were moved in 1833 to make way for a rail line, but they didn't quite get them all.
Okay. So there's still some there.
I mean, it doesn't sound like they were put into coffins. It sounds like they were just dumped into a hole.
See, that's even worse, because it's not even a proper burial.
Yeah, they just threw them with such disdain, and they were killed in such a terrible way. It has all the makings for a movie, say about a house with a tree that tries to eat a little girl, and a little psychic lady who comes in and goes, "This house is clean."
Yeah, it's what it sounds like. Yeah. In Poltergeist, the bones, the skeletons in the swimming pool, I'm sure you know this, but they were real.
Were they real? Okay, I've heard this somewhere.
They were. I think I told you before.
Mhm.
They were not props. They were real. They were real human bones, human remains.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know why the producers decided to get real human remains. I mean, they could have gotten, movie prop, skeleton bones, but no, those were actual dead people's bones. I think they got them from like mortuaries and things like that.
Hmm. Just people
Um,
donated. Wow.
yeah, yeah, you got it.
That's pretty creepy.
I know there was something about. I heard mortuaries. I heard some medical schools donated some. They got them from I think a number of different places, not just one place. But
Yeah.
they collected them, and yeah, it's still really fascinating to me that why they would even do that. Just why not just use props?
Well, it's like John Foster posted something today. John Foster, who was on our Yuletide show.
Right.
He posted something where the FBI found bodies. Like, they have these human remain drop-off centers where you can bring the bodies of your loved ones, or they'll go and get the bodies if you don't want to deal with the funeral or don't want to pay for it or whatever. They will pick up the bodies, and then they supposedly sell off the body parts for scientific experimentation, artwork, that kind of thing. But the FBI closed this human chop shop, and looks like it was Chicago, called the Biological Resource Center. It started in 2014, where they were just taking these body parts and selling them on the internet to people who wanted to collect them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's morbid. Who would want to collect body parts? I don't understand that.
And the terrible thing is somebody who worked there was taking these body parts and sort of sewing them into artwork. Like on one wall was the body of a man with a woman's head sewn onto it. There were buckets of heads, arms, and legs, even a cooler full of male genitalia.
Oh my God.
They were like taking these body parts and just playing with them.
Oh my God. That's some really morbid stuff.
It reminds me of Ed Gein, who was...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. People that do that, I don't know if they're all, right in the head, there's got to be something going on.
Yeah. Well, Ed Gein, of course, was the serial killer that they based the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on.
Absolutely.
And he was making a woman's suit out of leather, which, of course, Silence of the Lambs was based on Ed Gein.
Right.
But getting back to Lancaster, I did some more research, and I was researching about the Fulton Opera House. It's this beautiful musical hall in downtown near the Lancaster Central Market. And they had it opened in 1852, and they had performers like Mark Twain, W.C. Fields, even John Wilkes Booth performed there, right?
Wow, did he really?
Yeah.
Jeez. Wouldn't it be weird to get into a time machine and go back and watch a John Wilkes Booth performance?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be. I mean,
knowing what's going to happen.
He was pretty revered actor. I mean, I know his brother was more revered than he was, but yeah, he was kind of famous in his own right even before the assassination.
It's like Keanu Reeves going and shooting the president.
Right. Oh man. Keanu, don't do it.
Yeah, to our fans of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show, and there are quite a few of you out there, as seen from the website links, we are trying a new system here because I am now living an hour and a half away from Phil, but thanks to the modern miracle of technology, we can now chat amiably.
Yes. Yeah. Just like we're basically in the same room practically.
Except for I can lie down while I'm doing it, so.
You can make, funny faces and gestures and I won't see it.
Yeah. So the Fulton Opera House is also located near this burial ground, which seems to get bigger and bigger as ghost stories happen in Lancaster. And people there have reported apparitions playing the piano. I
think they should announce a ghost piano player and sell tickets,
We could be like Mozart's performing here tonight.
Yeah.
Extra $55 for the dead, and see that we could do. But yeah, they did that at the Fulton Street Theater. And there are a lot of other cool Lancastrian ghost stories. I mean, this place is loaded with them, obviously, with history like Lancaster. And we are going to pause on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show on Pararex Radio Friday nights at 9 p.m. This is episode 134. I moved on top of a native burial ground in Lancaster. Of course, I did episode 134. We are going to play an excerpt from John Foster's new book, The Isle, out from Grey Matter Press. John Foster, who was on our Yuletide episode before, that was in our Christmas episode. That was a lot of fun having John Foster. Read by David Walton, and we will be right back on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on ParaX Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. And check out our website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com for all of our previous episodes, a bunch of our ghost stories up on the archives, plus a page for each episode, contact information, and a lot of fun stuff. And we'll be right back. This is John Foster's The Isle. What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show is an eclectic audio magazine created by the authors T. Fox, Dunham, and Will Thomas that explores everything dark, strange, paranormal, and creative through ghost stories, fiction, conversation, music, humor, and interviews with authors, filmmakers, crafters, historians, and paranormal investigators. We also create a series of author events.
We are both published authors, interested in a variety of topics, exploring the darkness through produced segments of the subject of horror, the paranormal, the art of writing, and noir, anything dark. Topics better enjoyed at night.
We do the show to promote our published work, and we support other artists and authors with the show. We entertain to reach out to new readers.
Fox and I record the show in the city of Philadelphia, and we are often on location in haunted sites and artist events. Listen to over 120 episodes on ParaX Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also find the show on most major podcast services including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and many more. Or you can check out our expanded content, ghost story archives, links, interviews, and articles on our website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
Email your true paranormal experiences to whatareyouafraidof117@gmail.com to be produced into narrated segments by our voice actors, or contact us through the website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can find guidelines about our ghost story submissions. We don't judge. Our mission is to tell a good story.
What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
Because it's more fun to play in the dark.
Your source for everything paranormal. ParaX.
An excerpt from The Isle by John C. Foster. Published by Grey Matter Press. Read by David Walton. Chapter 1. Part 1. I need you to bring back a body. Bone decided to drive off the end of the pier, but his foot had already slipped from the accelerator to the brake, a betrayal so automatic that the opportunity was missed before he could seize it. Wind leaned against the hearse, rocking it on its springs as he sat and considered his orders. He considered corpses and the function of the vehicle he drove. He considered the drifting nature of his movements since the accident, and slid out of the hearse before the spiral became inescapable. A long man wearing a black raincoat and fresh facial scars. Dawn was a red rim of anger on the horizon as the storm gathered its strength and the wind tried to rip the door from his grip. Waves detonated against the rocks with loud explosions of white foam, the ocean matching the swirling fury of the storm clouds overhead. I need you to bring back a body. Marching orders. He looked away from the hearse, remembering the last time he had seen such a car, freshly waxed and gleaming in the October sun. This one was dirt-streaked and hunched against November. He thought it more appropriate to its function. The Atlantic beckoned to him, and he touched the change in his pocket, thinking about coins for the ferryman. Part 2. Some son of a bitch is standing out on North Pier, old Vic said from the window inside the cramped dock office. His big-knuckled, arthritic hands were holding a bulky pair of binoculars he had owned since his time in Vietnam, and he adjusted the focus to see better. Yep, the dock boss said from his perch at the rickety metal desk. The white paint was mostly gone, and salt air had rusted the legs, but it held his ledger, dock schedule, and overstuffed ticket book. He was a demon for writing tickets, and worked well enough, as he liked to say, about anything that didn't need change. Bastard asked to charter a boat out to the Isle. Vic turned away from the window with its view of fishing boats bobbing at anchor in the small bay. Ain't no one fool enough to run him out there, he said. The dock boss leaned over and spit a mass of phlegm and tobacco juice into the Folgers can he kept on the floor for just that purpose. Could be I mentioned that, and could be that's why he's standing over there on North Pier waiting on the Isle boat herself. Vic returned to look out the window at the slim black figure waiting alone. Well, I'll be. Is that his hearse parked out there? The front door banged open just then, and two fishermen bundled inside. Gonna get big weather today, a bearded fisherman in a thick sweater said, as he headed over to the coffee pot and poured dubious-looking sludge into a styrofoam cup. "What are you looking at?" the other newcomer asked, nicknamed Babyface for the obvious reason. "Fellow wants to charter a boat out to the Isle." Babyface and his partner exchanged looks. "Isle folk are awfully jealous about their waters," the bearded man said. "Ain't no one fool enough to run him out there," Babyface said. "If another body repeats that phrase, I believe I will shoot him," the dock boss said, spitting a wad that rocked the Folgers can. The bearded fisherman glanced in the can and gave the dock boss a nod of respect before taking a sip of coffee. "Jesus Christ, this is awful," he said, frowning at his cup. "Second pot," Vic said, and the other man nodded. The dock boss was in the habit of using coffee grounds at least twice to save money. "Say," Vic said as Babyface held out a hand for the binoculars, "what do you want out there?" The dock boss shrugged. "Didn't rightly say, but he showed me a badge. A federal badge, no less." "FBI? DEA? The bearded man asked as he put on a new pot of coffee. The dock boss ignored him. "So you get a man with a federal badge, which means he's carrying a federal gun, and he shows up driving a hearse. Ain't too hard to jump to a certain conclusion," the dock boss said, not entirely sure what the conclusion was, but enjoying the expressions on the faces of the two younger men. "If old Jenny gets her teeth into him, this federal man might be finding himself in the back of that hearse on the return trip, badge or no badge." "Yep," the dock boss said. "Yep," the bearded man said. Babyface surrendered the binoculars and echoed the common wisdom. Hell, everybody knew to avoid that stretch of the Atlantic. Boats that didn't had a habit of not returning to port. Yep. The Isle is the newest release from Anthony Rivera and Sharon Lawson from the phenomenal publisher Grey Matter Press. Josh Malerman, author of Bird Box and Black Mad Wheel, had this to say about the Isle. "The most thrilling thing about Foster's sweeping thriller, Mr. White, is how well it's written. If the idea is to put powerful words to paper, then Foster does it. And if the idea is to then use those words to pulley up walls around a willing reader, trapping him or her in the world of Mr. White, Foster does that too." Find the Isle soon at Amazon.com or at the Grey Matter website, greymatterpress.com. John C. Foster was born in Sleepy Hollow, New York, and has been afraid of the dark for as long as he can remember. A writer of thrillers and dark fiction, Foster spent many years in the ersatz glow of Los Angeles, before relocating to the relative sanity of New York City, where he lives with the actress Linda Jones and their dog, Coraline. Foster's short story, Mr. White, first appeared in the Grey Matter Press anthology Dark Visions, a collection of modern horror, Volume 2, before inspiring the novelised version of this thrilling supernatural adventure of the same name. His fiction has appeared in numerous magazines, anthologies, and Grey Matter Press releases. Foster released his first novel, Dead Men, in 2015. Mr. White is his second adventure into long fiction suspense. For more information, visit johnfosterfiction.com or greymatterpress.com.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head, the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
Illuminating the paranormal. Opening your mind to the possibility. We'll talk about all things metaphysical, paranormal, and everything in between. Illuminating the Paranormal, Tuesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern on Para X.
All right, here we go. Quiet! Roll up!
Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Willis, the host of Movies Now and Then. We're a podcast that looks at one new release film in theaters, then we compare and contrast it with a classic or underappreciated film from cinema history. We're not a traditional movie show in that we try to have a more conversational approach to our discussion. We want our listeners to be informed, engaged, and hopefully even entertained. If this sounds like something you might enjoy, give us a listen. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere podcasts are found by searching Movies Now and Then.
This is What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Pararex Radio, Friday nights at 9 p.m., episode 134. I moved on top of a freaking native burial ground in Lancaster.
I think that's what should be posted as. I moved on top of a freaking ancient burial ground.
It's definitely yeah. I mean, talk about taking my work home with me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Of the, what are the odds?
What are the odds out here? I mean, when I was reading through the legend, and then I read about the location, and it's been confirmed on several websites where the church and where they were killed was, and where the burial ground is and was, because they've still found body parts as they've been excavating various areas to build some of the apartments and buildings around here. And it's kind of like, of all the things to live on top of, but at least I've got a good story. And you can type in the Conestoga Indian Massacre in Lancaster. It's all over the place, and you will see them name the streets, the intersection. It's the same intersection you have to turn on to get to the apartment back here on a one-way street called Cherry Street. So.
Wow. Yeah, and please do that, because as soon as we're done with the show, I'm actually going to do it.
Yeah, go ahead. You'll see it. And you'll see that there are all sorts of things that are blamed on this legend. So here. Now, another cool legend is of the Albatwitch, which is located around... Yeah, the Albatwitch, which is located around Chickies Rock Park in Lancaster. I haven't been there yet. I'm looking forward to it. Again, it goes back to the Susquehannock Indians, and they had this belief that it's a Yeti, it's a Sasquatch. There was an ape in the local woodlands, and it became sort of their emblem. They even put it on their battle shields, and it eventually got the name the Albatwitch. And you can still see it roaming the area, like York County, this county, Lancaster County. It's a couple feet tall, and it likes to sit in trees and eat apples.
Wonderful.
That's what it does.
Who doesn't like to sit in trees and eat apples, though?
I know, exactly. They make some amazing jellies and jams and apple butter around here.
I was doing it last night. I was sitting in the tree eating apples.
Were you?
Yeah.
Are you the Albatwitch?
I might be.
Great.
I'm starting to believe that.
Great. I've come to Lancaster. I'm living on top of burial ground, and you've become the Albatwitch.
That's right.
It's
pretty weird, right?
But they can be, and the thing is, like, a lot of people have reported them over the years because picnickers go into the local wilderness around here, some very nice areas, Conestoga River, Chickies Park, and they'll start eating apples, and this hairy little thing will come running out of a tree, scare them, steal their apples, and run away.
So it only likes apples, or is it like that's all it eats?
I have a feeling it might go after dates, some quinces, maybe a couple of pears, but apples, it's got a thing for apples.
It likes its apples.
It likes its apples. I like apples too. I do. But I don't think I would go and rob people of their picnics.
No. If it wants apples that bad, it should just go to the local supermarket.
Yeah, right. That's what we do. Everything's new here, by the way. It's like this place is really built up as a lot of young professionals have come to live here, and I just love the fact that Allison only lives 8 minutes from her job, and I can walk anywhere.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's good that you can walk.
Yeah.
Walking distance is important.
Right. Especially when you can't drive.
Right.
And I guess we're getting a huge snowstorm this weekend.
I've heard something about that. I mean, is that just you guys, or is that hitting us too?
You guys might see an inch or some dust. They're talking about 8 inches so far here. But this has been a great episode, Phil. It's so awesome that we're back on the air. We'll be hopefully doing about 2 shows a month. I've got some awesome guests lined up and some amazing talent coming up, and I'll be collecting all sorts of ghost stories now that I can just sort of walk around and go, "Hey, did you see a ghost?"
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know? Did you know there's a burial ground right here? Yeah, I didn't know that, did you? Yeah, could I get a reputation real quick?
I'm sure you got a lot of really interesting ghost stories around that area just by the locals,
Yeah, right. I'm sure it's that's what they love to do around here is. And just reading about some of the Amish ghost stories, they get really creepy. Lots of stories about the devil.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be reporting a lot of those too and getting some local folklorists up. And hopefully you can come on up in the near future and we'll record together.
Yeah, I'll come up at some point. Absolutely.
Yeah, but
it'll be fun.
Until then, we've got online, so we're good.
Yeah, we are. Hey, we got it. We got our system.
This has been a lot of fun, Phil. I'm so glad we could do this again.
Me too. We got a lot of good shows coming up this year. It's in 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all of it, and I hope everyone is too.
Some controversial stuff, but like I said, we're here to tell ghost stories. We're not here to judge whether they're true or not.
Right. Yeah, we're parajournalists.
We're parajournalists, exactly.
We report on it. We don't do the actual ghost hunting.
Yeah, we're horror. We're fiction authors. That's what we do.
That's right.
So we'll leave it to you to decide. Anyway, Phil, it's been great. I'm so glad I could talk to you.
Oh, yeah. It's been wonderful, Fox. I was very enjoyable talking to you.
This has been episode 134. I moved on top of a frickin' native burial ground in Lancaster. We'll be back with episode 135, which will be more about writers and stuff. That'll be up about 2 weeks on Parax Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. And check out our website at www.whatdoyourateofpodcast.com. This is T. Fox Dunham.
And this is Phil Thomas.
Great, I've come to Lancaster. I'm living on top of burial ground, and you've become the Alba Twitch.
That's right.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife, Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A television series based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology Points of Origin from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time. Find out more information at www.tfoxdunham.com.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into 2 feature films, False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon Prime on demand. His screenplay, 3 Tunnels, was a semi-finalist at the LA Screenplay Competition. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, GameSkinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. He formerly held the position of Senior Marketing Manager at Eternal Press, and was a journalist for Patch, where he wrote a daily tech column covering the latest electronics and gadgets. He lives in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and is currently working on his second novel, Worst Afterlife Ever.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.